Tata Motors presents Trucking into the Future in partnership with News 18 Network.
Hello and welcome to the first edition of Tata Motors Presents Trucking into the Future in partnership with the News 18 Network. Now, if it were not for the petroleum, oil and lubricant sector, most of us, quite frankly, wouldn't have made it to this event. We needed to run machinery, our vehicles, ships, and fly our aircraft. So let's look at the big picture. India is considered as one of the biggest participants to non-OECD petroleum intake increase globally. We are the second biggest refiner in Asia with a refining potential at 248.9 million metric tons per annum. Petroleum, oil and lubricants account for 15% of our exports, while we import 85% to meet our domestic needs. The POL industry is also working towards cutting fuel emissions and achieving fuel economy benefits. Now, with the government's push to Bharat 6 compliance, the POL industry too has used technology to meet the required standards. So, what's left? Well, there is a big challenge. One major challenge the industry faces is with logistics, as it adds a huge cost to the crude price in addition to staples and taxes. So, in this exchange of ideas that we are about to have, we'll try and find the answers to all these challenges and gain some insights into the future of logistics in the POL industry. Well, I'm joined in this conversation by some leading voices in the industry. Let me quickly introduce them to you. P.S. Ravi, Executive Director Retail at BPCL, joins us. And along with him, we have with us Gaurav Moda, Energy Sector Leader at EY India. Chetan Walunj, who's the founder and CEO at Repos Energy. And finally, V. Sitapati, Vice President and Head of the Product Line Medium and Heavy Commercial Vehicles at Tata Motors. Thank you everyone for joining us in this very interesting exchange of ideas. So we'll start with the big picture, Mr. Ravi. In these past two very interesting years that we have seen, what are some of the biggest transformations that has caught your attention, and especially in terms of resilience, where do you see taking your organization forward?
Certainly, this year so far has been pretty good for the oil industry, and particularly for our company, Bharat Petroleum. As you rightly said, in the month of June, we have seen that the petrol has grown significantly higher. We are clocking a growth of about 15%, and diesel for the first time after a couple of years has crossed the pre-COVID levels, and we are growing at around 3.5%. The ratio of petrol to diesel used to be 1:3.5. It has now become 1:2.5, thanks to e-commerce, thanks to door delivery expectation from the consumers. These are the big level changes which has happened.
All right, the big level changes. Let's see how the medium and heavy commercial vehicle segment responds to that in terms of what's happening that you see, market share, performance in the POL segment for medium and heavy commercial vehicles. Mr. Sitapati, what would be your assessment?
As Ravi rightly put it, the industry is growing. Post-pandemic, the recovery is happening. As he said rightly, we have reached the pre-COVID level of penetration and consumption. More kiloliters per truck has been supporting the growth. Second is, there is a demand for improved profitability. More revenue coming, as I said, by improved kiloliters and faster turnaround time because higher horsepower. The cost of operations, one of the key thing, as we heard, most of them say is 58 to 60% is the diesel cost, which if you give an engine which is well designed along with emission compliance, optimally more kilometers per liter, ye dil mange more. So that is going to help in optimizing the cost of operations. Therefore, the fleet owners, the people who are moving the petroleum, oil and lubricants across the country, because the secondary market is primarily driven on road, very less support from rail and sea. So therefore, it is optimally helping the corporations, fleet owners, and we all smile back home.
All right. And we hope those smiles keep expanding. As you said, ye dil mange more. And it's great to see that it's a positive aspect that you look at, that every challenge is an opportunity. All right. Let me take some keywords there. Last mile delivery. And Chetan, I'll come to you for that. Considering, when I look at what you do, you're supposed to be the future of energy distribution. So tell us about the Repos Energy story and how you have, how it came about and how you're going forward with it, and how do, say, government policies, for example, say the diesel doorstep delivery model, how does that help?
So what sir was speaking about the last mile fuel delivery. For the OMCs, the last mile fuel delivery is delivering fuel from the depots to retail outlet. Now, when we talk about a large truck or a mining site or a construction equipment, they never go to a retail outlet. There is some sort of an arrangement which is made where the diesel has been bought to the fuel to their site from the fuel station, and that's where Repos comes into picture. So we are an e-commerce of energy distribution. How you order food, cab, now you can order fuel on app, and that's where we have delivered, or we have made or innovated a mobile fuel station where delivering fuel from the retail outlet to the last mile delivery by making a very transparent, adding a technology to that, and the last and the most important is making it very efficient, where he doesn't waste his time as well as he doesn't use his fuel to get fuel. That's what we are trying to do in this piece.
Gaurav, considering, the headlines always read about India's import bills, whether it's crude, which is around 80% of imports, LNG 54%, and considering logistics is still road heavy, what are the steps, what is the situation right now, and what are the steps that India needs to take to kind of move forward, kick the tires, light the fires when it comes to its renewable fuel credentials?
I think there are 3 levels to it. Level 1 is ensure, which is all about safety, all about efficiency, and all of that. In that, what kind of new technologies can we establish in our trucks? And new things are coming up. Second level is optimize, wherein IoT, digital, and all of that is one aspect. But the industry also is reshaping itself in consolidating, as you were saying, in terms of larger highways, larger trucks, larger, more organized players coming in. The third level, which is what you want trying to understand, is transition. So ensure, optimize transition. Now in transition, if you think about the renewable penetration, if you take a step back, logistics is about 5 to 6% of the Indian GDP. If you look at the total fuel consumption in India, more than 50% of the fuel consumption is diesel, and most of that is trucks. We have so many conversations about EVs and CNG, CGD. All of this essentially amounts to 20% petrol, where all that impact will be. You're talking about 55% of the country's fuel consumption can transition.
The sector overall is looking at sort of sustainable fleet management and sustainability overall. So in terms of what the medium and heavy commercial vehicle options are there in terms of green fuel variants, or the broader ecosystem when it comes to, say, training drivers or mechanics or service stations at each fuel plant, what's the game at play right now?
We also have a very decent presence with our CNG trucks, which is for sure would give between 20 to 26% of carbon footprint reduction. Over the last 3 years, 8% by volume in ILCV trucks has become 52% by volume. That's the CNG penetration. So much reduction in the number of diesel trucks sold. So that is lesser carbon footprint. So we will soon be coming trucks with CNG. And as Ravi rightly pointed out, trucks with LNG. LNG will be able to combat the range problem very well. The trucks will be able to run 1200 to 1400 kilometers after one charge, which may not be possible with the CNG because of the heaviness of the cylinders. Type 1 cylinders, we'll have to migrate to Type 4 cylinders, which will be expensive. So LNG is a popular methodology of moving material with bigger trucks, which is proven primarily in China, followed by in Europe. Then, of course, the world is going to go the EV way. The bigger trucks will have its own challenges in EV, because if you want to give the range, if you want to address the payload, then the battery weight would become a challenge. The higher the range you give, more number of batteries, therefore lesser the truck is going to carry. So the proper solution for long range trucks is going to be LNG and followed by fuel cell technology. So that's how the migration is. So this is a 4-step process, and Europe took from Euro 1 to Euro 6 nearly 20 years. Look at India, we took only 8-9 years. So therefore, we will also fast adopt the technologies, and Tata Motors will play a very primary role in making that happen.
Tata Motors presents Trucking into the Future in partnership with News 18 Network.